Welcome to the American Diversity Report podcasts, where we interview amazing change makers and diverse thought leaders. With me today, and I am Deborah Levine, your host, but with me today is Joshua DuBois. He is the CEO of Gauge.ai, a multicultural marketing expert and the former faith advisor to President Barack Obama. Welcome, Joshua.
Thank you for having me, Deborah. It's really an honor.
It's such a pleasure to hear from you. And I know that my audience will be very curious as to how you made the transition from the Obama administration to what you're doing now. Share with us what that looks like.
Sure. Well, actually, I started working for then Senator Obama long before he was president, and then transitioned into the White House. And functionally, I led much of the president's work on both race and religion. So all the easy stuff, right? So it helped him and the team navigate complex questions related to our culture and how we could have as diverse an administration as possible internally, but also engage with issues of race and culture in the wider world. You know, from that experience, really developed a range of relationships with key leaders in communities and an understanding for how to steward those relationships with a focus on community impact first. So I started a social impact firm, Values Partnerships, which is still there and growing to this day, working with a range of brands on engaging diverse communities. And then from that, we realized that many of our clients really needed some specific support when it came to their market research, engaging thought leaders in the course of their research. And so Gauge, the software platform, grew out of that. And so that's the short version of the journey, helping the president navigate these complex issues, doing it from an agency basis, and then realizing that we really needed a specific solution that we built out.
Wonderful. Go you.
Thank you.
Innovation here.
Yes, indeed.
As well as cultural competence.
Yes. Indeed, and that's the key, is that I think we have to take an innovative approach to issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, like we do for anything else, right? You know, when it comes to product design and HR and so many other parts of the business process, we're innovating all the time. But sometimes folks think when it comes to diversity and inclusion, that it doesn't deserve that same level of innovation and creativity. But we certainly believe that that on these issues, it's important to innovate as well.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
As you know from looking at my material and the work that I do,
Yes.
this is who I am.
You've been a real trailblazer, Deborah, and I want to appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. And it's who I am, and how could I not? I suspect you're the same.
Indeed. Yes. Indeed.
So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing now, and what does Gauge Next Lab do for us?
Absolutely. So Gauge.ai in our Next Lab product is an enterprise level cultural navigator. And I know that's a mouthful, but basically it's a software platform that connects decision makers and brands with thousands of cultural leaders every day. Now, these are the types of leaders that used to weigh in on brand campaigns after the fact, after a brand had already announced something new. But with Gauge, we are using software to bring these leaders into the process early on to shape, ad copy, strategic decisions, campaign launches, and more. The result is that subscribers who use this platform are able to avoid big mistakes and stay ahead of trends. And even more importantly, communities are able to see their feedback shape the products and messages and services that are targeting them. And so we're basically bridging the gap between brand decision makers and leaders in culture using this software platform.
What a wonderful idea. Why wait until it's too late?
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's so leaders are opening up this platform and asking top voices in the African American community, the LGBTQ community, or Hispanic and Latino community, or the disability community, and more different diverse religious communities, et cetera, to weigh in on campaigns early, and does this make sense? Are there any concerns here, et cetera? These leaders are providing their confidential feedback and then seeing their wisdom reflected in the products and messages and services that are out there.
I always like the term wisdom.
That's right.
That's what we need.
Yes, indeed.
I can remember doing a workshop for a large group and asked them to raise their hand if they thought they were wise.
Hmm,
Not one person did.
really?
No. So we have a little work to do.
Yes.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about maybe examples of brands that are wise and campaigns that are following, through on their promises for inclusion and racial justice.
Absolutely. Well, we have some subscribers that are doing some really amazing things. For example, Sephora, the beauty brand, tapped into this platform to understand the challenges that Black women in particular face in retail settings, challenges related to bias and, at the point of sale, at the cash register. And they used this wisdom that they gained from the network of leaders that we connected them to launch a first of its kind effort, a study on racial bias in retail and new policies they are implementing to change the way that they engage their customers. And so their work was focused on eliminating racial bias in the retail setting. We also do a lot of work with Procter and Gamble. P&G uses Gauge to test their really groundbreaking short films and campaigns on race, like The Look and The Choice, most recently a campaign called Widen the Screen. Our cultural leaders gave them really amazing feedback using our Next Lab platform to help shape those campaigns and then launch them into the world. And P&G continues to work with those leaders on future campaigns as well. And so for them, it was really focused on shaping the advertising that they were putting out in the world. Another good example is Snapchat. We work with them. They have different camera lenses, augmented reality lenses, and I'm still, learning about this technology myself. But they want to make sure that these lenses are culturally sensitive and appropriate in the ways that that people are using augmented reality. And they have run that question by and this technology by leaders on our platform that are experts on diversity and inclusion to shape the way that those lenses are developed. And so those are just a few examples: Sephora, Procter and Gamble, and Snapchat, but they're all really tapping into the brilliance of leaders on our platform in different ways, but really seeing an impact there.
When did you start this company?
Sure. We actually started beta testing about 3 years ago. So now it's a very advanced software platform. But in the beginning, we were working with Procter and Gamble, our early sort of test customer. We were sending text messages with their ad copy and questions out to this community and receiving text message replies back. So just our early, they call it a minimum viable product, so early MVP of this work. And then we later evolved into a very robust software ecosystem and mobile app. We launched the full version of this less than a year ago. So we're working with Snap, launched last June and July. So it's still early, but folks are really doing some powerful things with the platform.
Well, I imagine they're using it quite a bit during this COVID era.
That's right. Yes, we're understanding how consumers are responding to COVID and how buying patterns are changing. There are also lots of subscribers are helping, are engaging with our community to understand how to speak to issues of racial equity in this moment that we're in the aftermath of the Derek Chauvin verdict, for example. And as we approach the anniversary of George Floyd's murder, they're seeking to understand what is the most appropriate way for them to engage, and doing so with the benefit of wisdom from our community.
Wonderful, wonderful. I wonder if you could share some of your tips and strategies with us.
Sure, absolutely. I would say one of the most important things is to first listen to internal voices, particularly diverse voices that are already within the organization. They often have a wonderful roadmap. And what we're seeing Gage and our Next Lab product do is affirm and support some of the belief, some of the wisdom that's already inside of organizations. The second thing is to really find what you do best uniquely and connect your social impact to that. And so, for example, not every brand is going to launch an anti-hunger effort or a mentoring program. You should do what you do well. So for example, Sephora said, we are a retailer, so we can impact racial bias in retailing. Procter & Gamble said, we're one of the world's biggest advertisers, and so we can shift the way the advertising industry engages diverse communities on screen. Think about your specific lane, where your value add already is, and connect that to your social impact work. I think that's one of the biggest lessons that we've learned.
Hmm. So maybe too many organizations try to do things that they're just not really geared up to do.
That's exactly right. And we should think about where you're already successful in business. The reason you got into it, is probably where you can have the biggest social impact as well. And so think about how to connect your social impact to that. And the last thing, this is basic, but you'd be surprised. Actually, you wouldn't be surprised because you know this even better than I. But how few major companies and brands bring a level of intentionality and strategic planning to the way that they are engaging culture outside of their organization and advancing diversity and inclusion within their organization. The same plans that we need for product design and for HR overall and for customer service and so forth, we need to have that same level of intentionality around strategic planning for what's happening in culture in the world around us. And but frequently the world around us catches companies off guard because there's not that level of planning and strategic thinking. And so overall, using tools like Gauge.ai and others that are out there bring a level of strategy to this conversation in the same way that you would for any other part of your business process.
Wonderful. I totally agree. I've seen it again and again. Not for want of trying, but a lot of them just simply don't know how, don't know what to do. The intent is there, but it's just very difficult for them to see their way, and you're going to be helping them, are you not?
Well, that is our goal, and we're honored to do it. That there are, and not just us, but importantly, and to your point there, the question that you asked that group where no one raised their hand, the wisdom is already in communities, right? But and if we using our software can be a bridge to the brilliant people already in communities, then that will help decision makers in companies and major brands. It'll help them do their work.
Yes. And so many of the companies these days being online are spread out all over the place, adding additional challenges to their work in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. They have branches everywhere. I'm sure you're able to help them when they're spread out like that.
That's exactly right. There are certainly challenges, but also opportunities too, because this means that you have, for example, access to a broader range of employee pools, right? And where for applicants that can come from different and diverse backgrounds that you may have not been able to access before. And so we're really encouraging our subscribers to see the upsides in this unique moment that we're in and lean into them as a part of their work.
Wonderful. What do you expect is going to happen over the next few years to your organization?
Well, we are excited. We're in a period of rapid growth right now. And so one of the things that we're going to be doing is now we're really engaging with national brands and helping them connect to national thought leaders. But we're excited to go local and really think about, who are the most brilliant community leaders in Detroit, for example, or in Nashville or San Francisco or Charlotte, and connecting SMEs and others within those regions to local leaders who can help shape their work. And so we'll be diversifying regionally, expanding internationally as well. We've had increasing requests from our subscribers to help them engage with thought leaders and cultural leaders in different countries around the world. And so we'll be doing that too.
Wow. May I ask where you are personally located?
Sure. I'm right outside of Washington, D.C. in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Our office is in D.C., though, on Barracks Row in Washington. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee originally, though, and that's
Oh,
where most of my family is.
Tennessean, a
That's
fellow
right.
Tennessean.
That's right. Deborah, where are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I'm from a lot of different places,
Okay.
born in Brooklyn, brought up in Bermuda, lived
Oh,
in
wow.
Boston, Chicago, but right now I'm in Tennessee.
Oh,
In
you're in Tennessee
I
now?
am. I am in Chattanooga.
Oh, wow. I have a dear family. My aunt runs, in my opinion, the best insurance agency in all of Chattanooga. Stephanie Stinkfield at State Farm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And so she's doing amazing work there. And although I'm from Nashville, I've spent a lot of time in Chattanooga.
Small world, even though
Small.
we're all over the globe.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Well, it is interesting to see someone from Tennessee uh, end up in DC and be the resource, that you are. It's amazing, and the best I think is yet to come. My goodness, international, global, and local. If you had some words of wisdom to offer a young person today aspiring to have that kind of footprint, what would you say?
I would. That's a great question. I would say humility first. Realize that there's wisdom that came before you, and good people that are going to come after, and just and lead with humility, and that'll really help you to stand out. The second thing is, grow where you're planted for as long as it makes sense. I think there's a restless spirit among, which is a good thing in some ways, but among many young people where they're going straight to cultivating their brand or building a platform. But there's a lot of value in really deeply understanding institutions well first, and growing where you're planted. But then when it's time to leap, then leap, and spread your wings, and I'm sure that they will fly if they've taken the time to really learn first. I'm so grateful for the years that I spent behind the scenes working for other people and learning different institutions and organizations that prepared me to lead my own organizations as well. And so that's humility, growing where you're planted, but then leap out there, and I believe the heavens will open.
Wonderful. Well, are you listening out there? I hope so. Oh my goodness. We are looking at a very uncertain future, but people like yourself have something to offer people in these times. And it's amazing to me, right, how quickly you've started, you've grown, and you will be growing, right?
Yeah.
Are you ready for all of this?
Well, there's just so much, foundation building behind the scenes, right? And so it was a long years in politics, and then 8 years running a social impact company, which again is still there. And then, we've been building this software platform for over 3 years now, going on 4 now. And so, although, in the moments of launch, it feels like this is a very new thing. It's built on years of trial and error and experience and relationship building, and lots of wisdom from different friends and allies and partners along the way. And so yes, I do believe that we're ready, knock on wood, for for everything that's coming. And most importantly, we're ready to serve. We believe that this is the time that the wisdom from communities is needed most, because the world is changing so rapidly every single day. And if our tools at Gauge.ai can help connect people who need to make big decisions to the brilliance in communities, then that will be a service, we think.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. And I'm looking forward to having you back on the podcast in, say, 6 months or whatever, to hear how you're doing and what's happening, because I think it's going to be epic for you.
Well, I would love that, Deborah, and it would truly be an honor. I love what you're doing with the American Diversity Report and with this podcast, and just overall, you were doing this long before it was popular too, and so the fact that you continue to make sure that this conversation is at the forefront is so important for our country. So I just really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. The American Diversity Report is celebrating 15 years
Hmm.
of its operation, almost 1,000 articles from all
Oh,
over
wow.
the world, people talking about their experiences and giving strategies and tips like yourself. And
Oh,
now the
that's great.
podcast is about 2 years old. And it's amazing to be uh, able to do this and provide this resource. And I know that our audience is going to really appreciate what they have heard from you today. Would you like to add anything that we haven't talked about?
Well, thank you, Deborah. Again, I'm just so excited to be able to share our story. If folks want to learn more, they can visit our website at gauge.ai, and lots of information there, including a link to a story about us in the Washington Post that we were honored to have, and ways that people can set up a demo or join our community. And so that's all on our site at gauge.ai.
Oh, well, congratulations on
Thank you.
that.
Thank you so much.
Maybe you'll send me a link to that article and we'll put it on your page on the American Diversity Report. And audience, you will have access to that page and this podcast very soon, and a ways perhaps to follow up with Joshua should you need his services, which I suspect you will.
Well, Deborah, thank you so much. This has been such a joy for me, and I hope we can stay connected in the future.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Joshua. Audience, thank you for tuning in once again, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye now.